Welcome to AZ Illustrated Science. I'm your host, Jane Pointer. More people with mental health problems go to their clergy than to their doctor. Tonight, we will tell you what houses of worship are doing to make sure they are providing the appropriate care. Also, we talk with a law professor who is involved in federal litigation over the new 6 strikes policy, meant to address video piracy. Those stories in just a moment, but first, we head to the Arizona Public Media Newsroom.
Governor Jan Brewer is continuing her push to expand Medicaid, better known as Access, in Arizona. She unveiled her proposal at the Capitol today during a midday news conference.
This Medicaid restoration plan will bring $8 billion into our economy over the next 4 years. It will throw a lifeline to a safety net in rural hospitals struggling with the cost of caring for the uninsured. And it will keep Arizona's tax dollars here at home, rather than allowing them to go to Washington to be spent on who knows what.
Brewer's proposal is receiving a lukewarm reception by Republicans because it is directly tied to the Affordable Care Act. Brewer is one of only 5 Republican governors who have agreed to take the federal money to expand Medicaid. The expansion must be approved by the legislature. Earlier this week, state lawmakers in Florida voted down a similar effort. Following today's campaign-style event, the Arizona Hospital and Healthcare Association issued a statement applauding the governor's plan. Many medical and business groups in the state are backing Brewer in her efforts. The Pima County Board of Supervisors is proposing or opposing a proposed natural gas pipeline. The board voted unanimously today to oppose the construction of the pipeline expected to pass west of the Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge. Board members say it would be better for the pipeline to follow an existing roadway. The supervisors said they are willing to legally intervene to keep the pipeline from passing through the area. And the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee today approved a bill requiring universal background checks on gun purchases. Last week, background check advocates rallied in front of Senator Jeff Flake's Tucson office in hopes of convincing him to vote for the bill. Today's vote was along party lines, with Flake voting against the proposal. And that's a look at today's headlines.
New research happening right here in southern Arizona is exploring innovative ways of killing cancer cells without harming other parts of the body. Georgia Davis sat down with the head of clinical research for the University of Arizona Cancer Center to learn more about this emerging form of cancer treatment.
Scientists in southern Arizona are working hard to find ways to detect cancer earlier and to kill cancer cells once they are found. The head of clinical research for the University of Arizona Cancer Center, Michael Bookman, says clinical trials going on in Tucson are doing state-of-the-art research, trying to develop more effective therapies to treat cancer while also minimizing side effects.
With conventional chemotherapy, an advantage of giving a drug intravenously is that it goes everywhere, and so it can reach the cancer, whether it's in the lung, the liver, lymph nodes, or other parts of the body. But the disadvantage is that it goes everywhere, so it can also affect the intestinal tract and the bone marrow and the skin and other organs that might cause some toxicity.
So what researchers at the Cancer Center are attempting to do is find ways to get the cancer-fighting drugs directly to the cancer cells. Immunogen, a partner of Roche, has released the first drug of this kind after it received FDA approval at the end of February. The drug, Kadcycla, uses what is colloquially referred to as smart bomb technology to target solid tumor cancer, in this case, breast cancer. The way this drug works is it binds a cancer-killing agent to an antibody. For this reason, it is part of a class of drugs called antibody-drug conjugates.
Antibodies are part of the normal immune system, and they recognize different proteins and structures inside the body to help protect against infection and cancer and other diseases. And antibodies are fairly large, and they have 2 binding sites. They're shaped like a Y. There are 2 sites that can recognize a foreign protein, and then 1 site that's pretty much the same. And because of that long region called the FC region that doesn't get directly involved with binding to an antigen, you can use that to attach other substances.
Next, the antibody actually carries the substance with it. If the antibody is directed at breast cancer, then it will carry the drug directly to the breast cancer cells.
We can take a drug like paclitaxel or Taxol, which is used quite a bit in breast cancer and other diseases, and even though it has the potential to cause serious side effects, by being attentive to the dose and schedule and the needs of the individual patient, we can safely give the therapy and most patients will tolerate it well. But by attaching it to a monoclonal antibody, we can take that a step further. So we use lower overall doses of the drug because we know that most of it is going to go directly into the cancer and not that much will be exposed to the patient.
Following the success of Kadcyla, UA Cancer Center researchers are exploring using the same approach to target what is called small cell lung cancer. These cancers are less common than other types of lung cancer, but they tend to grow and spread more rapidly.
Often at the time when you first meet the patient and you're establishing diagnosis, it's already spread to other organs. It's unusual that you would find it just limited to one spot.
Right now, patients with small cell lung cancer usually are limited to chemotherapy treatments and all the side effects those treatments cause.
So having a conjugate like this that would specifically target the cancer cells and again reduce normal host toxicity such as bone marrow, intestinal tract, and nerve damage, things like that, that could be very useful if it works.
Useful both at fighting cancer and improving the quality of life for cancer patients.
House Budget Chairman Paul Ryan offered his blueprint for federal spending today, but a White House spokesman dismissed it, saying the math doesn't add up.
We get the latest on the Republican proposal as President Obama begins a series of meetings with members of Congress to restart a bipartisan dialogue.
Then we turn to the conversation sparked by Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg in her new book about women juggling careers, family, and leadership roles.
Spencer Michaels reports on a gold mine of information stored in a gene data bank that could help revolutionize medicine.
It's a large group of people about whom we know everything about their medical history. We can look across diseases and see, are there common elements in these diseases?
And on the Daily Download, we look at the gap between what Twitter followers think and what polls reveal. That's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
NPR's Michelle Norris opened her inbox to find a woman's message 6 words long.
Ask who I am, not what.
That's one of thousands of messages she received in the Race Card Project.
Angry black men are so scary. Not all Mexicans can do landscaping.
We begin exploring stories behind those words on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Six strikes. That's what many are calling the new anti-piracy policy that went live at the end of February. This policy has quickly become a hot topic on web forums and technology publications because of concerns about everything from copyright to who is running the program to privacy issues. Technology contributor Jason Katterhenry has been following the chatter on the web and now tells us what he has been finding.
The general consensus is that it's pretty much prone to failure because it's relatively easy to circumvent. There are any number of online services that let you pay a couple bucks a month to anonymize your IP address. The six-strike policy works because they will go to peer-to-peer networks and track IP addresses of people sharing files. And they match that IP address to an internet service provider, and the internet service provider is responsible for sending the customer a message. But if you use one of these services, your IP address doesn't appear to be coming from any ISP, and so they can't track you at all. These services are actually relatively new. It's in response to increased enforcement based on IP address, and there's actually dozens of them that you can see here that you can subscribe to for anywhere between $5 to $15 a month, depending on what kind of speed you want, what kind of anonymity you want. This policy is likely to become ineffective because as more people learn of these services, they'll tell their friends about it. And even if everybody doesn't start using these services, you can always download it and burn it to a CD or put it on a flash drive and give it to a friend. The music industry actually went through a lot of this back at the beginning of last decade. When Napster came out, they started trying to sue people, and that didn't work very well. The piracy kept going up, And what ended up actually solving the piracy problem was the market responding to people's desire to download music and take it with them. You used to only download from iTunes, and you could use that on an iPod, or you could download from Microsoft and use that on a Microsoft product. And people didn't like that, so they would spend 15 minutes trying to go on to a piracy service where they deal with viruses and things like that. And they thought that was a more valuable use of their time than actually paying for the product. But once the market decided to offer a product people would pay for, piracy levels dropped. And in fact, this year, music piracy is down 19% over the past couple years, even with broadband rates increasing. Interestingly enough, Tucson is actually exempt from 6 strikes because both of our major ISPs, Cox and CenturyLink, have opted out of it for one reason or another. And because of that, no one in Tucson proper will receive any notices whether or not they use these anonymizing services. It's sort of a hodgepodge group of major ISPs, most of them, interestingly enough, which own content. You've got Comcast, who owns NBC. They've got a vested interest in protecting their business model. You've got Time Warner Cable interested in protecting their business model. And so instead of adapting to the changing technology, they're trying to get people to conform to old standards.
University of Arizona law professor Derek Bambauer is involved in a federal court case on this issue and has been reading legal documents to determine the government's role in the policy. He joins us now in the studio to tell us more.
Thanks so much for having me, Jane.
Yes, of course. Thanks for coming in. So how will this 6 strikes policy affect users, and do people know about it?
The strange thing is, it's going to affect almost everyone who has high-speed internet access, and no one knows about it. Who pays attention to copyright law most of the time? And the way that it will affect people is, we hope at this point that people are not unlawfully downloading movies and music and ebooks because we have iTunes and Amazon and all these other wonderful lawful sources to obtain these things. But if a user is downloading something and they get caught, all of a sudden they'll get an alert. The next time they go to use the internet, there'll be a screen in front of them that says, we think that you may have engaged in illegal activity, and you'll have to actually acknowledge it. And then the reason it's called 6 strikes, sort of more than 3 strikes, is that you get sort of increasingly vigorous slaps on the wrist if you keep doing this. So it moves from just a pop-up screen to let you know to something where you have to actually sign in and acknowledge that you've done so. Maybe you have to watch a little video about copyright law. And then when we get to strike 6, all of a sudden your internet connection slows down. And so the idea is we're going to shift you away from bad behavior.
Oh, that's interesting. So who's actually doing the policing?
It's a combination of the content industry, so the movie studios and record labels and the like, and your ISPs. And so essentially, Hollywood has deputized your ISP as the copyright police. And this is a sort of strange development that I think will take a lot of people by surprise.
Oh, interesting. So the government isn't actually looking at what I'm doing in this particular instance to tell me whether I've been bad or not?
They're not, although the government, we think, was actually integrally involved in the genesis of this system. So the court case that I'm involved in is seeking to obtain documents from the administration under something called the Freedom of Information Act, which is a way of increasing governmental transparency. And from what we've gotten so far, it appears that the Obama administration's intellectual property enforcement coordinator really pushed hard for this sort of private bargain between ISPs and content owners as a way of sort of decreasing infringement.
And why do you think the government is getting involved? Why?
Intellectual property is something that's actually popular across the spectrum. Everyone loves intellectual property. We want to have more movies and music and pharmaceuticals and things like that. And in particular, Democratic administrations have close ties to Hollywood. They get a lot of donations from Hollywood. You have prominent Democrats such as Senator Feinstein from California, who are sort of very strong proponents of the content industries. And so it actually became, in some ways, an important policy priority for this administration.
That's interesting. I mean, copyright law just sounds like so arcane. It's not something that, normally I would have to think about when I read a book or something like that. And you're saying that actually we really do have to start paying attention to this when we're noodling around online. We could get caught doing something naughty quite easily.
It's so easy to run afoul of copyright law, and the difficulty of it is it's completely counterintuitive, right? That's the reason we don't pay attention to it much. Most of the time we're moving through traffic or moving through the world, we have intuitions to guide us as to what is lawful and unlawful. But copyright is incredibly technical, and it's very easy to run afoul of its strictures. And so one thing that I think is a challenge of this system, the new 6 strike systems, is that to the degree that we're educating people about copyright law, we're doing so from one particular point of view, and that's the point of view of the content industries, who take a very broad view of their rights and a very restrictive view of user rights, such as fair use and so forth. And so the worry is not only do people know very little about it, but to the degree that this new system informs them about it, they're getting a rather warped perspective on copyright.
So what would you like to see happen?
What I would like to see is two things. One, I would have liked to see users at the table when this bargain was being struck between ISPs and content owners. They were the great missing piece. Their interests are really underrepresented. And the second is, if we're going to start educating people about copyright, I'd rather have it put together. I'd rather have a curriculum assembled by people who aren't essentially one of the stakeholders in the process. I'd rather have an open, participatory way to actually teach people how copyright law actually works, rather than to give them a perspective that suits one particular industry.
So in the last few seconds that we had, I understand that not all content providers are actually participating in that. Why is that?
I think that there was even some disagreement, even in Hollywood today, there's disagreement about how to handle this problem, whether the right answer is litigation or education or other enforcement. And so they got as many people on board as possible, but it's clear that there are those who actually don't think that this system is the right way to go.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Studies show that people experiencing a mental health issue are more likely to turn to their clergy than a doctor. Now Tucson's clergy are working to learn more about mental illness and developing new ways to respond. Gisela Tellis has the story.
Put your arm around the person next to you and we join in singing Shalom Aleichem.
When times are hard, many people turn to their faith for strength and comfort. But in the wake of the recession and the loss of about half of Arizona's funding for mental health services over the past 5 years, some of Tucson's faith communities started to see people coming in for a different reason, says Karen McDonald, Faith Community Engagement Manager for Tucson's Interfaith Community Services.
And we'll give it to the congregations. I think both the congregations and ICS, Interfaith Community Services, are seeing more folks calling us for assistance, to know what the resources are, where can they turn.
The shift has left many faith leaders at a loss.
What did you do to our health advocacy? Probably the most poignant interaction we had with a faith leader about a year or so ago, before we started this whole effort, was when a second person in their congregation took their own life. And he said to us, "What are we not doing?"
Faith communities have always played a role in mental health. National surveys have consistently shown that more people turn to their clergy when they experience a mental health issue than to psychiatrists or doctors. But the clergy may not always know how to respond. McDonald saw a growing desire among Southern Arizona's faith leaders to learn more about mental illness, and she felt compelled to help.
Churches and synagogues.
She started by organizing the state's first conference on faith communities and mental illness in April 2012. It sold out, packing its venue with more than 450 people eager for answers.
For some people of faith, to have a mental illness, first of all, is a thing of shame, and so it's just not talked about. And so that's probably the biggest challenge, and probably not just in the faith community, is starting to break that silence and remove the shame around that and the guilt around that.
The demand to break that silence hasn't abated. ICS continues to hold forums on mental health topics and offers a mental illness resource kit for any faith community that asks for one. For McDonald, who is herself an ordained minister, fighting the stigma that surrounds mental illness is part of being true to her faith.
For me, it's imperative that communities and people of faith be who they say they are. And that is a place of compassion and support and growth for anybody who would come. The originators of all of our faiths teach us that.
Will you seek to honor God?
The push to make faith communities more aware of mental health issues and more welcoming to those who live with them isn't just coming from faith leaders. It's also growing out of the congregations themselves. At St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, church member Karen Andrews is bringing bipolar disorder out of the shadows.
The stigma can only be broken with knowledge and with compassion, and that's what's happening here at St. Andrew's Church.
Andrews has struggled with bipolar disorder from early childhood on. For decades, she kept it under wraps, managing her mood swings on her own while working as a nurse and raising a family, she says.
But one day, I went to work and I couldn't stop crying. I had no idea what was happening. It just hit me like that. And so I left work, went to my doctor, and he immediately phoned a psychiatrist. So I went there, and he immediately put me in the hospital. And I was in there for a month. And they said, well, we know what's wrong with you. And that was a great relief for me.
With a diagnosis, Andrews was finally able to get treatment and find stability. Now she wanted to share what she'd learned with others. She sought a home for the support group she envisioned, one that would actually teach the coping skills that had helped her make peace with her bipolar disorder. That was when she found St. Andrew's.
I didn't know it until just recently.
One Sunday, we were getting ready to walk out after service, and Pastor Carla Williams was out in the narthex greeting people, and she, saw us, came up to us, and just started talking with us. And she was interested in knowing, about our previous church experiences, and I had just mentioned that I had pretty recently done a support group for people who had bipolar disorder. And her eyes got big, and she said, really? And she began to tell me about the caring ministry that they have here at St. Andrew's, and that one of their concerns here is finding a way to reach out to those who have mental illness. And so it was a very, serendipity moment, if you can call it that. It was a God thing.
The 11-week course is now in its second year, and interest in it is growing. St. Andrew's pastor Carla Williams says the program has become a way for the church to reach out and better serve the community.
It raised our awareness that we really are a place where people come looking for comfort. I'm sure they're looking for hope. Often mental illnesses drive people into hopelessness, despair, and suicide. And the gospel is the gospel of hope.
Hope is now Karen Andrews' mission.
She was crossing down in the desert. We have genetic mistakes all the time. That's what bipolar happens to be. But God loves us unconditionally. And that's how He wants us to love each other and care for one another. Whenever we see somebody who has a mental illness, we have a special calling to reach out because they are God's children, just as I am, just as you are.
To answer that calling, she says, is the greatest expression of faith.
The latest research on the link between spirituality and wellness is revealing a complex picture, one that challenges the beliefs of many psychiatrists and physicians. Here to explain this is Dr. Lynn Klimo, a University of Arizona assistant professor of psychiatry. Hello. So what does research tell us about the link between spirituality and wellness?
Well, there's been a lot of research going on for quite a few years, actually. Recent research as well as older research. There's a lot of research been done on religion versus spirituality. Most of the research has been done on religion, actually. Can I tell you the difference first?
Sure, go right ahead.
First, religion, a lot of the studies have been done on religious attendance. So people that actually go to religious services. So when you think about religion, you think about our major religions like Christianity, Judaism, various Muslim now is in the news a lot. So you're thinking about an organized system, place where you go to church, you have a fellowship, you have a hierarchy of a place where you learn the rules of living life. Spirituality is a much more personal relationship that you might have with something that you feel connected to. So it's a more personal relationship with whatever you believe in.
Okay, and so then how are you finding that this is actually affecting people's wellness, and is there a difference between the two?
Well, they're actually trying to separate out the two now. The studies that have been done with religious attendance, there's over 850 studies done on religious attendance, and they have shown lots of positive effects. They've shown decrease in blood pressure, they've shown people are exercising more, they've been showing people are able to cope better with life, they're showing that they're doing better nutrition, they're also showing about a 25% better predictive value for people in not developing anxiety and depression. Suicide rates are going down. People don't use chemicals like alcohol or drugs as often. They're also showing with psychosis, people are coping with their psychosis. Now, this is where some of the complexity comes in. And I know I haven't answered fully your question yet, but let me come back to that, because the separation between spirituality and religion is difficult. Religion, it's easy because do they go to church or do they not go to church? We can measure that. Spirituality, it's how they actually believe something and what they give meaning to.
So how do you measure this, though?
So when we do studies, and I'm actually not a researcher, I read the research. So when we're looking at spirituality, we have to ask different kinds of questions. We're asking questions like, what are you attributing meaning to in your life? The separating out of not just, do you feel sad, do you feel happy, do you feel a sense of well-being, but do you feel these things in relationship to what you believe in and what you attribute meaning to? And it could be a God, or it could be something like nature, like a Native American belief system.
And how do we know, how does research, the research that's been done know that in the few seconds that we have left here, that it is actually the spirituality and the religion that's having the effect on wellness, and not necessarily perhaps the emotional state? We had Dr. Sternberg in here recently talking about the huge effects on location and on emotions and that kind of thing on wellness.
Well, there's a lot of people doing studies by putting people in brain scans, for example, PET scans. They're looking, doing EEGs. So they're trying to find this, quote, God spot. And they're looking at people that have had brain injuries and looking at something called a transcendent trait. So they're able to now, with some of our technology, look at like the Carmelite nuns or the Buddhist monks. And they're actually looking at this on some of our technology.
Great. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
That's our show for this evening. To leave comments about the stories you saw tonight, or to rewatch this or any episode of AZ Illustrated Science, log on to our website at azpm.org. I'm Jane Pointer. Have a good night.